Hi, my name is Brennan Galley, and I'm the product specialist for Denon DJ. Today I'm showing how the X1800 and the SC5000 work. The X1800 is the mixer, which is part of the Prime series from Denon DJ. On the back of it, it has a bunch of Ethernet cables, and so this is running from my SC5000 into the X1800, and that does a bunch of stuff for me. That communicates what the BPM or the speed of the song is that's playing from the SC5000. And I have a bunch of effects in here which are time based. And so the BPM is going to lock in, and then all my delays and all that kind of stuff is going to work well. Another thing that the Ethernet cable connection does is it communicates when I'm going to have audio coming out of the actual system. So what you'll see is that if I turn down this fader, the platter on my SC5000 will go from being green to being totally off. That also happens with my crossfader as well. So if I look at my SC5000 and it's grayed out, before I start playing and miss a track or whatever, I'm going to know that there's something up. It's a nice safeguard to have. It also means that when I have it set up to have dual layer, because the SC5000 can play 2 layers at once, when I press here, I'm going to have blue, and then I know that the blue channel is right there. So it communicates which channel I'm working on as well through the color coding method. And again, it's going to turn on and off depending on where my controls are set to. Starting on the top left with the X1800, I have a microphone input right here, just an XLR or a hybrid 1/4 inch. I can put in either or. And on the back of the unit, I have another 1/4 inch input for my microphone. So I have 2 microphone inputs, each with their own volume control and each with their own on-off switch right here. I then underneath have this talk over button, and what that will do is it will make the music quieter when I'm talking into the mic. So if I'm doing a wedding ceremony or something like that where the MC really needs to stand out and be heard, this is a great way to do it. I then have an EQ section that is for both mic 1 and mic 2. So if I want to maybe cut back on some, if I have feedback or something, I can turn down the highs. If I want to make my voice a little bit more boomy, I have that low end gain as well. Underneath the microphone section on the X1800 from Denon DJ, I have this filter button. And you can see that I have filter, and then it will engage whether or not the filters are actually being used. So if I have content playing, let's switch to this layer. I can have my high pass, or I can have my low pass. And then if I push this, it doesn't matter what I do, it's disengaged. So if I wanted to have a bit of safety and not do a filter by mistake, I would turn off the filter control. Below the filter section, I have this sweep effects, and you'll notice it has a square, and then it has this connector going to all these controls. So that means that I can select something like dub echo, and this is now my increase for that. And if I go to the left, it will do it a different way. And so I have that for all 4 channels, and I can switch that. So this is what the noise sounds like. It's just sort of a white noise, like up and down kind of sound. You've already heard the dub echoes, but I'll do that again for you. The washout is going to slowly make it mute away, so let's hear that. So it sounds one way when I turn it to the right, it sounds another way when I turn it to the left. The next option is the gate, and the gate is going to mute any sound that's below a certain volume. I'll show you what that sounds like. So I can turn it up until it cuts. So anything that's below that volume is now going to be cut off. If I go to the left, it sounds like this, which is pretty cool. That sweep effect section can be applied to any of the 4 channels that I have on the X1800, all with their own varying amounts. So I can get some really interesting effects out of there. Below that, I have my headphone control. So I have my split cue off and on. And then I have my mix. So I can either listen to more of the main output through the master, or I can listen to more of the cue. And the way that I engage the cue is I push the cue button underneath whatever channel I want to hear. And then I'll be able to set my volume right here. And then I have my general headphone volume overall, and both a 1/4 inch and an 1/8 inch headphone. So regardless of what type I have, it's going to fit in here and it's going to work well. Then taking a look up at the top, I have a couple of different options here. I have my USB and USB 1 and USB 2. And you'll notice on this section, I get a USB port here and I get a USB port there. This is for connecting the X1800 to a computer. So if I'm in a club and I have multiple DJs that are working together, I can have 2 laptops plugged in simultaneously to this mixer. It means that my hot swaps are really clean, really straightforward to do. And I just select whichever channel I want to put my second or first computer onto up top. And then I would have this dial here to select the USB. So if I do both of those things, then I can access whatever computer I have plugged in through my USB port and play back from software, if that's the route that I'm taking with it. I then have digital on the back. The SC5000, it has SPDIF output, so digital output, and can select it right here. Digital is nice because the conversion has already happened. It keeps the signal very pure from what the source audio is. With both the SC5000 and the X1800, they sound great, but if I want to have digital sound from another player, I have that option still on it, which is super pro, really nice to have. I then have line level input. So on the back, I have a line level RCA. So if I'm coming from something like my MPC or a synth, then I would select the line level. And then I have phono for my record player. So it has a phono preamp inside of here. It will crank the volume for me. So if I'm coming from turntables, that's nice. It eliminates a piece of gear in my setup. We've already touched on the USB. And then if I go over here, I have DVS input. So that's my digital vinyl system input. I can have records that have time code on it, DVS, and then I can play that and control my software with this as the interface. So again, it makes it very pro, very flexible. For this application, I'm on digital because I'm feeding SPDIF out into here. And you'll notice as well, there's only the one pair of cables controlling all of that. There's digital 1 and digital 2, and that's feeding off of here. So it keeps the signal down a little bit too. I don't have to run a left and right for both channel. Below that, we have our typical strip that we would have on a DJ controller. I have my volume control here. I have my EQ, so I can cut out my mids if I want to. It's just all low. I'll cut it high so you can hear those lows. Bring in mids, just the mids and high, and then all 3 notched. There's a tiny little notch in the very top of this as well, so I can easily feel where that 0 position is. It just sort of locks right into that from a nice little twist, which is really nice if I'm doing stuff quickly. We've already touched on the cues when we talked about the headphones, so that's to get the signal from that strip into my headphone port. That's what feeds it for this cue mix input. And then, of course, I have my fader control, which is going to turn on and off the deck, and my crossfader, which will do the same as well. Below that, I have my A, B, or through, and so that controls what side of the crossfader it's on. This is my A side. If I had it over here, this would be my B side. And through means that the crossfader has no control on it whatsoever. I do all my volume control from the actual volume fader right here. I then have my master volume control, and I have my mono and my stereo switch. Below that, I have my panning, so I can either pan left or right, which is really nice to have on a on a nice mixer playback device. I then have my booth output. So for my setup, I'm running 1/4 inch to 1/8 inch into just my AV32s that I got here, and that's controlling the volume there. So this master is feeding XLR, which is going upstairs into my Pro Tools rig, and then this is feeding whatever I hear down here. Underneath that, I have my channel fader start. So if I turn that on and I turn on the fader, it's going to start playing back. So stop it, stop it. So it's a good way to remove the need to have to actually like push a play button. So underneath my booth volume, I have my channel fader start. So I can just turn that on by switching it off to the left. And when I do that, my volume is going to play, the track will play back when I turn up the volume on my fader. It's going to play back from wherever that Q position is. So I'm going to go Shift Q to erase it. And we're just going to go and reset that position really anywhere else. If I want it here, I'll push Q. And now when I turn up that volume, that'll be the position it plays it back from. The same is true with my crossfader start, but instead of controlling the starting position here, I'll control it from my crossfader. So we'll turn that on. There we go. And I've set this to be on A crossfader. So that means if I'm over to the B, when I go to the left, then I get that control, which is really nice. You can get some cool little effects like that with it. It's very sweet. Underneath that, I get my contours. So I have my channel fader contour. So this is going to be about how the gain staging works. Right, so we'll turn this up a bit more. You can see that not much is going to have a huge volume increase. If I go to the left, I have to work it a little bit more. So there's there, and then here's over here. So it gets really loud really quick through that way. And then of course I have a notch in the middle, which is the nice happy medium point. I then have my crossfader contour. So I have it all the way over to the right. Then that means it's going to just be from 0 to full volume. If I go all the way to the left, then it's going to have this gradual increase. So depending on how I'm performing, I'll set those up differently. I typically like my crossfader contour to be really tight, because then I can do those crabs. I can cut really quick and make it very sensitive for how the volume plays back. I've already covered the 2 USB ports here. That's for putting my laptops in, but just because we're going sort of one step to another, I'll cover it again. So I can put in one laptop in a second. Then below that, I have these nice keep the beer out of it rubber protectors as well, which is super sweet. Then next to that, I have my entire effects section. So right now, you can see how there's this white light here. This will control wherever my effects are assigned to. So I can either do my channels 1, 2, 3, 4, or I can do my crossfader A, and anything that I set to crossfader A will then be assigned to that. I can then do crossfader B, so anything that's assigned to crossfader B will now have an effect on it. I then have my mic. So if I want to put like a delay or something onto my microphone, I have that control here. And then I have my master, which is just everything. Microphone, all the channels, the whole entire bit. The way that I turn my effect on, so I'm going to go to channel 1 here, and I have this knob right here, right underneath the screen, that's called Effect Select. And inside of here, I can pick whichever effect I want to. I have my time division control on the strip. I have my engage right here, and then the amount is controlled through this dry wet knob. So it's going to be a combination of those two. Time control, amount control, and on off right And I have a bunch of cool effects in here as well. So if I want to run something like, let's go right to the end here. If I want to do the beat break, I have this effects time control, and usually that's going to control the time of all weird things, right? So you can see I'm on reverb roll, and it changes the value of what the time is set at. But if I'm on this beat break, it then controls what my pattern is set up as, and I'm going to show you how to get into there to make your own pattern. So let's turn it on, just so you can hear that effect. I'm going to go and select another one. Here, it's sort of doing a little beat break where there's a notch. That's with all of them engaged. So it's just a few. So the way that I set up my beat breaks is in my utility menu. With my utility menu, I'm going to push it, and then I can go down and select something called advanced audio. So let's play it, press enter here. And then inside of here, I'm going to have my effects edit option. So again, I'll push to select. Then when I'm in here, you can see the second option is beat break edit. I'll press select again, and now I can go through and prepare any of these how I want them to be. So I'm going to do number 12 next. So I'll push enter, and now I can go through and select where there's going to be a beat break. I'm going to take out those guys there. I'm going to remove that one and that one there, and then everything but the first one there. So now I just custom designed this beat break. So if I'm in my main screen, I'll just press back until I get to the beat break. I can select that as pattern 12. So I can get some really neat effects, and I can pair up beat breaks with whatever song I'm doing. So it gives me a level of control that I really haven't had available anywhere else before. Taking a further look at the utility menu, so inside of here, I have the ability to go through and do things like select the filter, so I can change the resonance with it. I can select what type I have in there as well. I can do that with my EQ as well. So I have all my high crossover, low crossover. I can even reset if I start to do things and I'm not too sure what I did. Headphone control, it's my output and gain control that's in the utility menu. If I go down to microphone, I get a bunch of different options. So I get my talkover level, I get the speed in which talkover will re-show up. When you buy a stock, it'll be a slow, like the volume will dip out right away when you do talkover. But then when you stop, it'll be a slow release. So I can change that inside this menu if I want to. All my microphone EQ settings, the booth, if I didn't want it to be in my booth because I want to maybe like reduce the chance of feedback, I would have that option. And then of course just the reset mic default again if I go in and muck about. And then advanced audio, we looked here for the effects setup, which is right at the bottom, the effects edit. But I have my sample rate control, I have the master out level, really anything that makes this booth worthy you're going to find here. This is where you're going to set your volume so that you don't blow your house speaker if you're in like a real pro club and you're doing that kind of thing with it. And then I get all my system controls. This is where I have all my networking, all of the info, the engine connect, and all that good stuff. And of course, my factory reset. There's a lot more deeper in there. That's a really brief overview, but you can see there's a lot of control inside of there, and definitely like tuck into the manual when you buy this so you'll know every feature that's available, but that kind of highlights a few that I use quite a bit. So, and again, I'll push back and just sort of turn that off. The X1800, it's definitely a rugged, heavy piece. It weighs like it's a brick essentially, big metal brick, and it's made to go into a road case and tour with you. It's made to sit in a club and have DJs use it over and over again. It's a real workhorse of a piece, so quite the investment to get. Thanks for watching this video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. And please subscribe to my channel. It encourages me to keep on shooting these, to keep on working with Dan and getting these videos out there for you. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching the video.